Welcome to the World of Horror Podcast, Season 4, Episode 7. I'm Mom.
And I'm Mac.
This is the podcast where we share our love of international horror. Fear is universal, but we are not afraid of subtitles. WoHos! This week, our topic is Battle Royale-type movies. We reviewed Battle Royale from Japan and the BELKO Experiment from the US. Before we get into it, fair warning, these discussions will include spoilers. Let's move on to our first segment, Mom and Mac Chat. Hi, Mac. How's it going?
Good. I'm unemployed, affectionate. That's a good thing. And just hanging out with Branwyn right there, who had been sitting next to me, but I was kind of like, hey, you either got to sit on me or get a move on. So she moved. People at my job kept being like, well, what are you going to do? Like your first thing when you're not employed. But it's like, I kind of need like a brain reset. Like it, or also like I had a friends kept asking me like on Friday, my last day of work, like, how is it? I'm like, I don't know. Like I have been doing the exact same thing for 3 years. So that like, ask me like 6 months from now. So I'm like a prisoner who just got out.
Oh God.
Well, except I have a lot of, prisoners don't usually have like, money and health insurance until the end of the month. So actually not like that at all.
But I guess, the feeling of freedom and I mean, I just had it for this last week and a half because I'm on spring break. Even though I did, do a ton of work, but still, I didn't have to report anywhere.
Yeah. So nice. Not have to answer to anybody.
Oh, I'm just like, now that Mac doesn't have a job, he can like get our YouTube channel going and make all these little movies for us. And I got lots of work for you.
Oh boy. Well, how are you?
I'm okay. I went to the spring break and I wanted to go somewhere I hadn't been before. And I was going to go to Athens, but it was a little expensive and it was also kind of booked up by the time I was going to make my reservation. So then I just sort of went like 4 hours, in different directions. And that took me to Norfolk, Virginia.
Ooh.
Okay. Consumer alert. Norfolk is boring as shit. So then Mr. C
I feel like I could have told you that.
Oh, really? Have you been there?
No, but just when I think of awesome places to go, like I've never heard anybody be like, Norfolk, yeah.
Well, I don't know, they got cool murals, and at the Museum of Art they have like a glass blowing demonstration every day at noon.
That's cool.
So I'm sold.
I do like glass blowing.
I got there and I'm like, oh, this ain't it. And also I was staying at a Wyndham, but it was the most sketch place I've ever stayed in. I slept with the lights on and the TV on. I canceled my second night because I'm like, I can't.
What was it? Like, what were the vibes? What was it that gave it like a bad feeling?
It was not kept up at all. It was in disrepair and it was not clean. And
that's one of the worst.
It was just gross. And I felt like it was kind of, I don't know if this is true, but it was kind of like a place I bet you can pay by the hour. And
yeah.
And it was scary. So Mr. C was like, are you going to go to Williamsburg on this trip? I'm like, good idea.
Yeah.
So then the next day I checked out at like 5 in the morning. And then,
Jesus.
I know, no Starbucks were even open. I'm like, what am I going to do? But, drove to Williamsburg. Nothing was open.
Cause it was still like, how early was it?
6 or 6:30. But
I also feel like you probably have a better idea of things that are like, cause any person can see like, okay, this place is probably nasty, but since you're like good at cleaning things, I feel like you probably could get like a better sense too of like, oh boy, I can tell this has not been touched in like a long time. When I went to Texas last year. We stayed at, and the reason why we chose our hotel, it was a perfectly good sound choice from my friend who picked it out because it was literally within walking distance to our friend's house. So we could just walk there and, that's great. Texas is huge. I don't know how I can say how humid this place was. Like, Texas already, was like, I don't think any of it just made me realize how much work must go into North Carolina buildings to make them not humid because we're used to humidity, but this place was not. It was like wet when you walked in, and when I would get back to my room at the end of the evening, the sheets were wet. Like, it was wet.
Oh, wow.
It was like the dampest place I'd ever been in. Like, it was wet. And when you took a shower, you just barely got dry afterwards. I was like, how is this happening? And again, it just felt very weird because North Carolina is very, very humid. And in the, muggy summer, you sweat and nothing happens. It just stays on you.
Mm-hmm.
But it was worse in Texas because nobody was built for it. So it was like, even if you walk into a building, it was just like, now you're even worse. It was better to be outside. Texas is great. Sorry, there was a
What was that?
building. Did you hear that?
Yeah, what was that?
There are these people who live near, in this building who have dogs who are always screaming. And I don't know who goes to who, but also you can always hear one woman in her house go, "Shut up!"
Oh, no.
And it's like, maybe you shouldn't have gotten a dog and put him in a 2-bedroom apartment. Maybe that's something to consider is hey, even Branwen, I think I wish she had a catio or something to look out of. And, that's a small cat. Big dog. I see some big fucking dogs in my apartment building. And I don't know how to take care of dogs. I'm not telling anybody how to live their life, but if your dog is barking at all times of the day, this is probably not the right environment for it.
Yeah. That makes me sad.
Don't think about it.
Okay. I just forgot
Turn
about
it off.
Turn it off.
That's what I do.
That's such great advice.
Right? That's, this sweet coworker of mine who I only started working with a little bit in the last few months. I was just having a horrible day and I was just telling her this is just reminding me of everything that made me want to leave. And she goes, and she's so sweet. She has the sweetest little voice, but she's a very, very big woman. She's like a person who's just big. I don't know how else to put it, but when people say big boned, they mean her. She's
Mm-hmm.
very tall and just but it's so, it's sweet in a way. She almost reminds me of a cartoon character because she's so sweet and unassuming. Doesn't seem like she's ever said a bad thing in her life, but she's so tall. And anyways, she's like, you know what? I have really good advice for you. Care less. I have a sticky note behind my monitor and it just says care less. And you might think that that's a bad thing, but sometimes it's exactly what you need. And I was like, you know what? You're right.
That's great.
I know. I love her.
Are you going to be able to keep in touch with her? Or will you?
Yeah. I mean, that's the really nice, it's the bittersweet thing about my company is that I guess I'm no longer at, is that I do not regret quitting. Again, every single day of my last 4 weeks was further, nails being hammered into the coffin. However, the only thing that kept me there for so long was the immense amount of great, sweet, nice people. Now there's 132 people who work there. So, a lot of people was very much outnumbered by the horrible people that worked there. But that does not take away from the fact that those people were really great, that were great. And so many of them are way older than me and have been in the industry for decades and stuff. And I had so many people messaging me tell me as soon as you are ready to look back for work because I'm going to be a character reference. I'm going to be a personal reference, career reference. And the lady who told me to care less, she was like, if you are applying for a job and you're on LinkedIn and you see that I'm connected with somebody who's at that job, you tell me and I'll put in a good word for you.
Oh my goodness.
An overwhelming amount of people have just been I'm going to find you a job. Basically. So that's really sweet and really nice.
Yeah. I think that's a testament to your character, not to what do they say? Blow up your spot. But you're a very likable person, and you're also, a good coworker. They know you're going to do a good job wherever you go. But I think that outpouring, should I hope that makes you feel good and is, confirmation that you're a good person and there's a lot of love all around you.
Thank you. It did. Like, I don't know, like it definitely, the response from people like affirmed again, like everything that I thought, especially the amount of people that were like, you did the right thing. Like they were like, cause I would explain to them, like, I just feel like I'm stuck in this role forever. I was like, there's maybe a possibility of too much job security. And they all were like, yeah, yes. Everybody just confirmed like, no, there's no reason that they would ever replace you. So like, if you want something different, you have to do it for yourself. So you did the right thing. So that also made me feel better. I mean, there were a few people that were like, one or two that were like, are you going to get a part-time job? Like, how's your money situation? That, made me like, gave me anxiety, even though it really is like, I've been like planning for this for like, I've been wanting to quit my job since I started my job. Like, I remember like the first week I got home, every day I would tell Alan like, oh no, I don't like it. Like, oh no. So this has been in the works. But yeah, everybody was really, really supportive and nice. And, like, they got me a cake and it said good luck, Mac. And I'm waiting for somebody to send me pictures because, I didn't have my phone on me, but they had this little going away party and it was very, very sweet. And then somebody also got me a 12-pack of Diet Pepsi, which was very nice. So yeah, it's like a weird situation because it's both like the nicest people and best people I've ever worked with, but also like the worst job I've ever worked at. And I never want to work there again.
Yeah. Wow.
Except maybe under a different person. I'm still considering applying under a different team. Anyways. I'll keep rambling forever.
Well, I went for a run today.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm back training for a 5K.
When's the 5K?
May 7th.
Ooh, May the 7th be with you.
Well, the name of this race is May the Course Be With You.
There you go. Nerd.
Yeah, no, not me, but
no, I know, not you.
For the kickoff. For the kickoff, people did come in costume, and I was like, "Oh my goodness,
that's sweet."
It is sweet. It's sweet.
Jubilation, enjoying life. This is like my new mantra. Is what whenever I'm streaming and somebody in my chat says something like, "Do you like this food or this music?" and it's something I absolutely detest, I always go though like, I wish I liked it because what like the world would be if I liked more things, I'd be happier. Like. Somebody asked me, what kind of sushi do you get? I was like, well, I don't like fish. So I always eat like cucumber, avocado. And they were like, you don't like fish? I was like, listen. This is not me saying you shouldn't like fish. My life would be so much easier if I liked fish. You know how disappointing it is when somebody's like, want to go out for sushi? And you're like, no, like I hate being that guy. If anybody doesn't like something, consider maybe they wish they could like it, but they just cannot.
Well, I started doing this. This reminds me, I just started doing this like, icebreaker thing that I'm going to keep doing going forward. I don't know why I never did it before, but until I learn everybody's name, instead of just calling roll, I would say, okay, today. So like one of them was, what's a food that you don't like that most people seem to like? And, I said, I'll go first, mushrooms. And people were like, oh, but it was like, this one kid, G, said, I don't like cake. And I was like, what? But, it's just funny. He goes, well, I don't know if he was lactose intolerant or gluten intolerant, but he's like, I just don't eat this stuff. And, but it's like somebody will say like, I don't like bananas. And you're like,
yeah, that is a great icebreaker because I feel like it gets people out of their comfort. Or like more comfortable to be able to be like, what? Like make them laugh and stuff. Like, that's great. I should ask my chat that because I always want them to like, usually they'll get started talking, but if you just say like, how is everyone's day? Like, that's so boring.
Yeah.
But what,
I'll send
especially
you a bunch
if you
of
say,
icebreakers.
oh, please do. Well, Mom, besides mushrooms, what is another thing that you don't like?
Oh gosh, that's the main one.
Mushrooms.
I you know what? I'm not a big fan of fish either. I mean, I'm real boring. I'll eat tuna fish and I'll eat salmon. But I don't have very exotic taste when it comes to fish, and it's not my go-to protein source. So
Yeah.
I don't eat it very much.
Meat has to look like the farthest away from the animal that it came from for me to eat it, which you might think it's obvious that I'm uncomfortable with the fact of eating an animal, right? But I can't deny I would much rather not see the eyes of the thing that I'm eating or have it look anything like the body.
Yeah.
So shrimp, no. Fish head, no. Cow head, no.
Oh my gosh. I know. Yeah. It was so weird when we lived in South Korea. I'm sure there are a lot of marketplaces like this, but you would see like heads of animals just sort of hanging, and I hadn't really experienced that before, so that took some getting used to. And there's a smell I will never forget, and that is the smell of a blowtorch burning off the hair on the head of pigs.
But it's just because we haven't been exposed to anything that. Like, you grow up in that and you're like, oh yeah, that's just the thing that's out there every, Wednesday. Or whatever. Yeah.
I don't even remember. I know it was a special occasion kind of thing, but I was like, oh my gosh. Well, I mean, burning hair, it's not the most appetizing smell.
People always say that, and I guess I realize I've never smelled that before.
You've never smelled burning hair?
Maybe only like from a straightener. Like if a friend was doing their hair and they burned it, but not like, it must be something a whole different level if it's, a lot of hair.
Well, yeah, I mean, I used to smoke, so every once in a while that would happen. But also I guess just being around candles, and I always had long hair.
Oh my God.
I don't at the moment, but I mean,
you caught your hair on fire?
Yeah, a couple of times. I also drank quite a lot. So, I mean, I wasn't, maybe as in tune with my surroundings as I should have been.
One time I set your couch on fire.
Yeah. What?
Not your current one, but when we lived in a duplex, there was like a white couch that we had little fluffy things.
Okay.
And I just got really bored one day, and I was not like some kids are pyromaniacs, okay? I know because I knew some, but like I was not like that. I'm still afraid of fire, but I just had like a candle lighter, and I really don't know what went through my head, but I just kind of like put it up to the couch, and then like the little white fringes started burning. I was like, oh my God. And so I like took it out. But you never found out, I guess, because I thought you were going to be like, oh yeah, that one singe mark on my couch.
Oh my gosh, that's the weirdest thing.
Yeah. There's probably a lot of things like that.
Probably. They'll you'll tell me them.
Yeah.
Over the next couple of decades, and I'll be like,
and you'll be like, oh my God. You what?
You don't have to.
I only say them when I remember them.
Yeah.
You want to get into it?
Yeah. Anyways.
Forget about what I just told you.
Okay, so you're taking Battle Royale.
Yes. WoHos, I think you'll find this kind of humorous when Mom asked me, oh, what genre do you want to do next? Well, I was like, can you show me the screen of genres? And when you showed me, I knew that this, because at first I was like, okay, anything on here is fair game. Mom made this list. But then as soon as I saw one movie in particular, I was like, Mom did not make this list. I saw the title, I think it just said Extreme. And then it was the movie, a Serbian movie or Serbian film. Yeah. And I was like, I just wanted to know what would happen. I did not expect to watch a Serbian film with my mother, who I love, but I was like, oh, a Serbian film. And you were like, what? And I was like, yeah, and Hostel as the American one. And you just were like, no. Which I totally respect. There are movies I cannot watch, and I think that's totally fair. When I said this story to my chat on stream, they were all like, and what's a Serbian film? I was like, I'm not even going to describe it because it won't do anything for you. Like, if you're not the type of person who's already heard of it and watched it like me, it will make your life worse to know what it's about. So why tell you?
Well, that's what you said. I said, I'll do it. I mean, but you're like, no.
No.
Like, that wouldn't be good. That won't make us happy.
I would not do that to you.
So instead,
then I was like, oh, Battle Royale. Truly one of my favorite genres. I have a letterboxed list, and it doesn't say Battle Royale, but let me tell you what I've named this list. I named it movies where a bunch of people need to make decisions that have fatal consequences. I love those types of movies because I love a big cast. I wish more movies had large casts. I love strangers having to be pit against each other, and I love a descent into madness. So yeah, of course, you gotta pay homage to it's probably not the originator of this idea, but Battle Royale is definitely what I think of. And I think our pop culture has so much to thank Battle Royale because there's Fortnite and PUBG and all those Battle Royale games that truly must have been originated from this idea. And then also just the Bellko experiment is just, I do not wish violence upon anybody, but I just kind of kept thinking about the Bellco experiment throughout my last 4 weeks of work where I just thought, who would do what to so yes, I'll start off with Battle Royale. Battle Royale, 2000 Japanese action thriller film which follows a group of junior high school students that are forced to fight to the death by the Japanese totalitarian government. Obviously this drew controversy and the movie was banned or excluded from distribution in several countries, but it earned critical acclaim and especially with its DVD releases drew a large global cult following. And I just really think this movie has a lot to say, and I think it says it well personally, and I think there's a lot of questions that it brings up both for adults and young people and definitely shows off the concern and anxieties of older people, and also the fucking powerlessness of children who are subject to just what an adult's whims of well, maybe this will fix it. And it's like, well, I have no power anyway. So, and I just love it. So it has a huge cast of characters. So I guess I'll read just a few of them. Okay, so our main guy is Shuya Nanahara, and that's played by Tatsuya Fujiwara. His will they, won't they, friend Noriko Nakagawa, played by Aki Maeda. Transfer student Shogo Kawada, played by Taro Yamamoto. Teacher Kitano, played by Takeshi Kitano. Oh, interesting. Crazy transfer student Kazuo Kiriyama, played by Masanobu Ando. And let's see, some of our other people. I think, what was her name? It was Mitsuko Soma, our femme fatale, played by Ko Shibasaki. And I do love that training video girl. I thought she really did exactly what she was supposed to be doing. Yuko Miyamura. But there's a lot of other great, people. A lot of the actors, actually looked very young, which is great. I love that in a movie, except definitely these people were not ninth graders. Because they're all supposed to be in junior high. In Japan, ninth grade is still a part of that. And 10th, 11th, and 12th grade is high school. And I mean, why didn't they just make them high schoolers? I don't know. I always just wonder this because it's these kids are not, at least they did not look like ninth graders. Cause y'all, have you seen a ninth grader? They're children. They're 14. They're babies. All these people look like they could vote. So this came out December 16th in 2000 and has a running time of 113 minutes, longer than my usual. However, I will say, I do think that when you have a big cast like this and you have such intense themes like this, I think this movie did a good job making that long runtime make sense. So the prologue, or the entire plot is really long. I looked through the plot that you got from battleroyale.fandom.com, which thank God for them. And yeah, it would just be too much to go beat by beat. So the prologue of the movie starts with At the dawn of the millennium, the nation collapsed. At 15% unemployment, 10 million were out of work. 800,000 students boycotted school. The adults lost confidence and, fearing the youth, eventually passed the Millennium Education Reform Act, aka the BR Act. Battle Royale. The film centers around Shuya Narahara, who is a charismatic young boy. He has a horrible origin story. His mother abandons the family. He finds his father, who has died by suicide, on his first day of 7th grade. And he's like written, I mean, like the way that they pose this scene is so tragic, but also so like it just shows you how you can see the frustration from whoever wrote this movie of just like, what are adults doing for kids? Like this, like, because the dad has this like toilet paper around his neck that says like, go for it, like Shuya, you got this. His pants are down. He's killed himself with like this electronic wire. And it's like, what is this? Like, this is horrible. You've left this poor boy all alone. And like, I don't, it's like, it feels like such an empty gesture, you know, of just like, well, go for it. Good for you. And I just like that they've started this out by like, apparently this whole film's supposed to be following like, you know, bad students, but clearly everybody has their own home life and this kid is an orphan, you know? And so it just goes to show that it's like, yeah, it's not as if like the young people are just born evil. Like, y'all fucked up. Anyways. So we see, Noriko, she goes into school and nobody's there except for teacher Kitano, who's just sitting on the desk. And on the board, it says like, we took the day off, class B. And she's like, what happened? Like, I came in late. What happened? And he's like, you know, class, you know, just, and he just like picks up his stuff and goes and leaves. Then this kid comes out of nowhere and stabs Kitano in like kind of like the back of the thigh and runs away and drops his knife. Noriko picks up the knife, witnesses the incident. Kitano just kind of washes himself off and then leaves. And then it says that the next day he quit. So 2 years later, or I guess next year, the students are nearing the end of their education. So they embark on a class trip. Everybody is there and having fun. We just kind of see the little dynamics begin. Nobu, who is the one who stabbed Kitano, is actually best friends with Shuya, our main character. And you know, Nobu, again, this is what I love is like, Nobu shouldn't have done that. That was a bad thing to do. But Nobu's just like a little shit. He's just I do think that there are times when people say like, oh, you know, boys will be boys. And that shit is like not true. But like, kids do dumb shit. Like, their brains are not developed. My brain actually just developed last year, I think. I think 25 is when you are officially fully developed. Say.
Yeah, but Mac, I didn't understand, like, why did Nobu do that? I mean, was there any...
They really didn't explain that very well.
He seemed like a nice kid, and he just sort of, like...
Stabbed his teacher
out of nowhere.
I did think that was weird, and I do wish they would have explained that more, because, like... Stabbing somebody with a knife is like a pretty extreme thing. It would be one thing if he just like played a prank on him or absolutely like humiliated a teacher in some way. But like, that's like violent. Like, like, I don't know. But also one thought I had as somebody who's been in American public school was, wow, if just this movie thinks a whole class taking the day off is like, wow, the rebellion. I mean, they'd like, have a heart attack walking into an American public school. Like, and I went to a well-funded American public school, and that school still had people who like, the teacher, like one girl just would walk out of like, you know, math class, and the teacher would just, you'd see her and she just, I have seen this look on teachers before of just like, what do I do? Like, what do I do with these kids? And I do know that like, taking care of like, kids who are going through something at home, from my friends who are teachers, I've heard, is really tough because there's nothing you can do, you know? So everybody's kind of at a disadvantage. But yeah, so I don't know why Nobu did that. So then everything goes black and Shuya wakes up and he sees that everybody has been gassed. The woman at the front of the bus is wearing a gas mask, sees him and hits him on the head. So they're taken to an abandoned island and Kitano, along with the government, is behind this entire operation. So Kitano tells them, and I do think he does, like, this actor just does a great job because it's very much like a teacher like kind of being like, all right, kids, like, here's what we're doing. But he's explaining the most horrid thing ever. So he says that due to their juvenile delinquency, them especially, they've been selected as participants in Battle Royale, a game where students have to kill each other until one is left. And if after 3 days a winner is not decided, everyone dies by way of explosive collars attached to each student's neck. He begins playing this like TV program that like explains everything, and it just is incredible because I don't know if there's like a particular phrase or whatnot, but there is just a way that like I've seen, and I'm not saying just Japanese informational videos are like this, but I've seen a lot of Japanese informational videos with a cute girl who's like, come on everybody, like, let's do this. But she's describing, like, everybody's gonna get their weapons, and, some of you are gonna get good ones. Some of you are gonna get bad ones. And just, it's so, and the teacher the whole time is like talking along with her, like, yeah, come on everybody. And it's just, everybody's obviously very upset. So to prove he means business, and because Nobu keeps kind of being a little shit, Kitano detonates Nobu's collar, and it slowly beeps down as Nobu tries to get help from his friends who, people want to help him, but other people are scared, and like, he's pushed into the middle of the room and it explodes and he dies. So, and then also Kitano like throws a knife at some girl's head who like won't shut up. So yeah, everybody knows.
He hits her in the head.
Yeah. And he goes, wasn't supposed to kill one, but whatever. And so then each student is led away. They're read out as like girl number 1, so-and-so. And they take their school bag and they're given a survival pack with a random weapon, and everything begins. And again, and another thing is that there's going to be danger zones, which if you're caught in the danger zone, you will be killed. And they announced the danger zones, like the whole island is split up into quadrants. Again, Fortnite, PUBG, you're welcome, because the whole thing about Battle Royale games now is that the way that they get people to come together is having like, they just make it so the map gets smaller. And I mean, like, this movie invented it, did it not? Anyways, we just see how kind of everybody begins to percolate. Oh, by the way, there's 2 exchange students who nobody's ever seen before, who are obviously like bad news. They're dressed up as your typical Japanese delinquents. So some people just refuse to play outright. There's like a girl who goes out with, one of her friends, and they jump off like a cliff and this girl actually refuses the weapons in the beginning. She says, I'll never play this game. And, she jumps off, and other people are like, I'm fucking killing whoever I need to. But there's some people who are totally good at it. Some people who are desperate, but are totally failing because they're 14. And so a lot of stuff happens. So Shuya, who's still grieving over Nobu, he decides he's going to protect Noriko, who is somebody he both has a crush on and who Nobu had a crush on. So they eventually find Kawada, who was one of the transfer students, who actually ends up helping them. And they're kind of confused why, and he reveals that he actually was a survivor of this game 2 years ago, and he got put in this game, like, he didn't want, or I don't remember if he wanted to come back. I think he did.
I think he did. I think he volunteered, maybe?
Yeah, he volunteered, and he reveals that basically he was Shuya. He had a friend, Keiko, that he was taking care of, and in the end, she was killed and she died in his arms, and he's been trying to find the meaning of her last words, which were, thank you, and the fact that she smiled while dying in his arms. So elsewhere, the class president Yuki gathers up a bunch of girls and they hide in an abandoned lighthouse. In the midst of this, Shuya, a lot of stuff happens. Shuya accidentally kills a classmate when they tumble down, and one of the girls who sees it thinks that Shuya killed the classmate, not that it was an accident. Shuya is taken in by Yuki, the class president, and taken care of, and they're making food for him. Now, this girl who had seen him kill the other guy her weapon was poison. She tries to poison his food. Another girl ends up eating it, dies, and then everybody's thrown into hysteria thinking who did what, and they all end up killing each other. Except for the girl who put the poison in the food. And she just goes up to Shuya and lets him out and goes like, I didn't mean to do it, and leaves. He just kind of sees everything and goes and tries to find, Noriko and, Kawada. So then there's a junior revolutionary, Shinji. He's kind of like a hacker nerd guy, and he gathers up his friends, and they have a plan to blow up the whole school and liberate the students. So they start working on that. But there's also a lot of kids who are just like, yes, violence. The other transfer student, Kiriyama, who's silent the whole time, he just signed up because he likes to kill people. And so he kills without remorse. He gets kidnapped by a bunch of kids who are like, it's your fault, right? He ends up just killing them all. He's kind of like a force to be reckoned with. At the same time, we've got Mitsuko, who's a really beautiful girl who is very, very ruthless. But we get a look inside her life when she was younger. Her mom, I guess, like, sold her or something. And there was a guy that was in her house. And it's this really troubling scene where this guy presents this doll to Mitsuko, and he's like, look, this is Mitsuko the doll. He then takes off all the doll's clothes, and he's well, now it's the real Mitsuko's turn. Yeah. Well, baby Mitsuko pushes him down the stairs. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, we just kind of get a sense of even this girl Mitsuko, she does some heinous fucking things in this movie and is not a good person. However, again, it's adults that made her this way, and every single kid in this movie who has issues, it's because of the adults in their lives, so it's even them, they're powerless against, I think also the kind of the hands of fate and whatnot. I don't know. I have so much I think a lot about this movie. And, she and Kiriyama both pick up, weapons of the people that they have killed. It's kind of like a thing that they do of what weapon do you have? And then they take it. One student named Sugimura, we follow his whole trek. His weapon is a, locator. He can see on this little, screen dots where everybody is, which is, I mean, a pretty fucking amazing, weapon. But he only uses it to first find his best friend, who unfortunately gets killed by Mitsuko. Now, this best friend kind of has a really awesome moment. Her name's Chigusa. There's a really great scene where we see Chigusa running in this yellow tracksuit and Sugimura behind her, timing her. And he's just saying you're so fast. And she's like, I'll always be in front of you. And he says, good. Well, I'll always be behind you, watching your back. Then we see her still running and she can't see him anymore. And then when the camera turns back, she has the collar on her neck. And I don't know. It's just heartbreaking seeing all of these snippets from the kids' lives and now how it's turned out. This boy who likes Chigusa, who has this bow and arrow, finds her and basically tells her well, I'll just force myself on you. So she kills him and stabs him in the dick, which I thought was pretty great. I mean, it's really out of rage, that she does this because she's just leave me the fuck alone. But then Mitsuko finds her, shoots her as she's running away. When Sugi finally finds her, he holds her in her arms as she dies. Then he finds a girl that he has a crush on. She gets scared and accidentally kills him. We see another little snippet where it's he was on the basketball team and she was cheering for him. And she says, well, how was I ever supposed to know you liked me if you didn't tell me? There's just a lot of moments like this where the students are just kind of bemoaning kind of natural teenager things, but in the midst of this horrible situation. So Shinji, our little hacker, hacks into the central control system and cripples the monitoring network of the army. And he and his friends rebuild an abandoned truck and prepare to drive to the army headquarters. But fucking Kiriyama ambushes them all and kills them. And all of them are killed as the bomb-filled truck detonates. So now only Shuya, Noriko, and Kawada are left. Kawada then gives kind of a little fake out where he's well, now I win. And off screen, we hear 2 gunshots as apparently he kills the 2. So then we go back to Kitano and he tells the guys well, it's over. It's all done now. And he's been working on this very strange mural this whole time. Mm-hmm. So Kawada treks to the school and Kitano is now the only one there. Kawada confronts Kitano and Kitano soon reveals that he's well, I know what really happened. You know how the collars work. You took them off. Then we see Shuya and Noriko walk in. They were never killed by Kawada. He just was tricking because they have mics in their little, collars. So he was tricking the military operation. So Kitano then reveals his drawing, which has a picture of all these slaughtered students and Noriko at the center with a halo around her. And he reveals that he's got this really weird obsession with her and begs her for her to kill him. Because he's like, the only person worthy dying with would be you. And the reason why I guess he thinks this is that he sees every kid as like this evil hellspawn, and she's somehow perfect and pure. Because even his own daughter, when he's on the phone with her at one point, is like, stop breathing on the phone. I can like smell your smelly breath through here. Which like, yeah, probably this guy's a fuck. And that's why his daughter hates him. You know, that's another thing is like, you know, this guy's like, well, why does everybody hate me except for this nice, lovely girl? And it's like, I don't know, you're probably disgusting and weird. So Noriko can't shoot him. But when Kitano raises his gun, Shuya shoots Kitano. Kitano engages in a final bitter conversation with his daughter over the phone where he says, I'm not coming home, and then passes on. So the trio escape the island on a boat, but Kawada succumbs to his wounds and dies. Shuya and Noriko make it onto land, where they're wanted for murder, and they just live in secrecy. We get a final last scene where we see that Noriko actually would eat sometimes with Kitano outside of school, and I really do like this last moment where she says to him, like, the knife that, you know, my friend accidentally, you know, or that you were stabbed with, I took it home and I keep it in my desk. So that's just our little secret. And the very last line of the movie is Kitano goes, what is an adult supposed to say to a child in this situation? And then that's it. And I love that. I don't know. I love that kind of, the whole thing seems to be like, we don't know what the fuck we're doing here. Yeah. And nobody knows. Everybody's confused, which I think is pretty accurate.
Okay, that helps me out a lot.
Yeah?
I was talking to Devin, friend of the show, and I'm like, I don't get this movie. but I think I was too old, you know, when I watched it. I mean, I think you watched it. How old were you when you first watched this?
I probably was in high school when I watched it.
But I think it would have that kind of impact, you know, if you saw it at that age.
Delinquency is still like a thing. And I mean, like I said, I think just from the fact that their display of like, wow, horrible kids was them, a whole class not coming to class was kind of like, I mean, y'all, that happens now, like in school, like that's not that crazy. But at the same time, I feel like definitely just from what, and I'm not Japanese, never grew up, you know, in Japanese culture. And I'm saying all of this from the lens of somebody just viewing Japanese media and reading articles about like current young people in Japan. But I do think that there is a mass, not a violent one, but like almost like a civil disobedience kind of thing happening with Japanese youth as it relates to how Japanese adults want society to be run. I mean, there's the whole like hikikomori movement of people just not leaving their houses. There's like, you know, the birth rate is super low because people aren't meeting and getting married and having babies. I mean, there's a lot of people against how rigorous the schooling is. There's even a character in this movie whose whole motivation is, I will be number one in class and get into good college. You will not stop me. And when I read a little bit of why the writer wrote this movie, he said that a lot of it was because when he was younger, he was working on a lot of things with students for like World War II, and they weren't ever given any information or anything. They were just lied to, and that it created so much distrust and animosity between the students and the adults. And I already think that obviously exists in pretty much every society, you know? Yeah. I mean, the idea of like breaking or rebelling against what people say you're supposed to do is like really prevalent. And this to me was kind of also like a look, maybe not super sympathetic, but like a look into how confused adults are just trying to like, I don't know, let's figure it out. Like, obviously this kind of thing would never happen, but it's still like a interesting idea, and how even the adults involved with this operation were imperfect and didn't know anything about what was going on, and were confused.
You know, Japanese game shows and stuff, you know, sort of have this extreme quality to them. And I can't remember who I was talking to, maybe Quinn.
Friend of the show.
About Time Bandits. Now, have you seen Time Bandits?
I don't think so.
Well, that's English, and it's satire. And the commercials are woven into it, but they're not, it's kind of like a RoboCop situation where it's not, you know, the main thing, but it tells you a lot about the culture. And the the game shows are, like to the death or whatever. Yeah. But they're just like on in the background. So, just the idea that in the 80s, there was a lot of consumerism run rampant, capitalism, just like always, destroying people. So,
and I think honestly, you could even look at Battle Royale. I mean, I even just try to think of like different ways that this relates to situations now. I mean, like even, and I might be reaching here, but I mean, even the idea of like the valedictorian or something, is that not a contest? Like, is that not something that we're pitting kids against each other when it's like, who cares who the number one kid is? I just want everybody to like be able to have knowledge. Like, and when I think about the things I was never taught in school, like basic history things or wrong things I was taught in school, like, I mean, I had a teacher who I was one of those Southern kids who had a teacher tell me that slavery just wasn't that bad. And that's in school. So what are you supposed to do? Like, how are kids supposed to be better if we teach them fucking garbage? And I'm so passionate about this as it relates to like impoverished areas, because I feel like there's a tendency for people to be like, oh, let's say like, a rural Southern area. Well, they're stupid. And it's like, yeah, there's a lot of people there who are pretty fucking stupid, and they have beliefs that will like make your head spin and like depress you. But at the same time, like, are we helping them be any better? Like, is there any help given to the public schools? Like, these dumb motherfuckers will just keep having dumb motherfucking kids and teaching them dumb motherfucking things if that's just the way we let things go. Mm-hmm. And like when Alan tells me about his school, like, it's insane the things that the teachers told them. Like, so what are kids supposed to do? And that's not to give anybody an excuse. We have a purpose to be better than the society we grew up in. But at the same time, that society should do its best to help and educate people, which it doesn't. So I don't know. I see Battle Royale as like everything in capitalism. Everything's a competition, and everything's about being like the number one. And like, what's different of like trying to? Because I knew kids who were cheating in school just to be valedictorian.
Sure.
Like cheating on tests. So it's like, who's learning?
Right.
What's the point? And people are driven to cheat not because they're lazy, but because they're scared of being lesser than, and then scared of the competition. So I mean, I'm not saying that Battle Royale is giving us. It's basically showing us what not to do and like why it's bad, and how these competitions that turn everybody into like just a number doesn't look at the whole breadth of their existence. Like Nobu, who's a little shit. We see that he grew up in the foster system with Shuya, was his best friend, and only went on the school trip because Noriko sent him a letter and said, like, please come, it would just be great. And he even says, he's like, even if she didn't mean it, the fact that somebody's waiting for me, I want to go now on this school trip. Like, oh my god! So,
I can tell.
I see, what does Letterboxd have to say about it? Donald TC gave it 1 star and said, Battle Royale, more like royally boring. Which, okay, fine. But it's not a movie that's just supposed to be about senseless killing. That's kind of the point. Is like, that's what they want, and that's not what happens. Like, I don't know.
Well, I tried to give you a selection.
You did. We have Abby, 5 stars. The Hunger Games is Battle Royale for pussies.
I'm not terribly fond of that use of that word in that context. However, I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah. We also have Masturbate, who says, 5 stars, Battle Royale shits on the Hunger Games.
These were right next to each other, too, on the website, so it was pretty funny.
Angelo gives 4.5 stars, says, Battle Royale is not a game, it's a fucking genre. True. Jake Yardley says, not really a fan of kids. Thanks, Battle Royale. I think Jake Yardley would have been one of the ones gunning for the Battle Royale law.
Oh, yeah. Sounds
Which
like
means, Jake Yardley, I don't think you got the point of the movie. It's like people who are like, Tony Soprano, he's fucking awesome. Like, why that bitch Carmela, why does she try to keep him down? It's like, I don't think you got the point. Walt, fucking Skylar, she's always getting him down. What the fuck's up with that bitch?
Oh, man.
Just let him do his meth stuff. Ooh, you missed the point. Rating. I'll give it, might shock you, 5 collars.
Yeah, it doesn't shock me a bit.
Oh. But what would you give?
I would probably give it 3.5.
And that's fair.
I did enjoy it. I feel like I don't understand it. So I feel like if I would watch it with you, or, you know, read an essay or something, I think I could understand a little more what's going on. Because I just felt like something's happening, but I don't know what or why. So, you know, obviously it has a huge, it has had a huge impact, you know, on the genre. And so I think it's important for us to talk about it. I just wish I understood it better.
And that's fair. I've seen it like 3 times now, so that definitely is like, you learn more every time you watch something.
Oh, absolutely. It's true.
What have we learned? I would say I learned, don't judge a book by its cover. And teaching is really hard. And everybody's dealing with something.
Yeah, I think that's a good one. That's what I was just thinking. You know, the REM song, Everybody Hurts.
Everybody hurts.
But it's true. I mean, everybody does hurt in some way or another, or feels like they are not understood, or feels like they can't get what they want or something. In some way, we're all, you know, yearning for something, and it's not clear often what that is. You know, and when you just judge somebody by their outward behavior, you're like, what the fuck? Like, why did they do that? But, there is an internal reason why, I believe. And
I would also say, like, the next step then isn't just like, oh, well, they're going through something, obviously. Like, nobody ever says that or is saying that, but just if there's patterns in things, like, if there's a pattern in human behavior that we see of like, hey, people who are abused might more often do this. Hey, then maybe that says we should do something about those actions that are causing people to do, you know, fucked up shit. Cause you don't have your trauma does not give you the right to inflict trauma onto other people.
Right.
But at the same time, like, nothing's ever going to get better if we're just like, man, that's just the way the world works.
Yeah. And also just like, suck it up, buttercup, and figure it out yourself, you know, without having the resources available for people to figure it out. And so, yeah, I mean, we need a lot of help, you know, in this society, and we have the potential to do that, and we have the resources like at our disposal. It's just that, yeah. And I mean, I've worked in schools where it's like you have no support, and they're just like, get them through the test. Like, that's all we need to do. We need to get our numbers up. So just like for the last month or 2 months, just teach them the test. Like, literally, they told me to do that. And, you know, if you didn't get the numbers up, you were in danger of being fired. And that's just like not the way to teach kids or to motivate teachers or anything. It's just a really fucked up system.
And Kitano, he says, he's like, you know, we're not allowed to hug a student, but a student can stab me, like, no problem. Now, in that, I'm kind of like, well, I don't know if that would fly, but, I will say, I do think I'm not a teacher, but my mother is a teacher, and I have a lot of friends who are going into teaching right now. And it's like the number one point of aggravation I hear is just when you see a kid that you know there's something horrible going on with them, and it's like they have no power to do anything. But then also you're being told, well, but we'll make sure that they're productive. And it's like, okay, is that even the most important thing that's happening right now? Like, is them getting an A more important than the fact that there's clearly something going on with them that like needs external help? Like, and yeah, I just also, I guess I just want to say thank you to every teacher ever. If you're good, if you're bad, don't do this anymore. Please stop fucking up people.
Well,
But
yeah.
if you're a good teacher, then good for you.
It's really, I mean, and I'm in a position now where I don't have a whole lot of support at work, but except among my colleagues, and everybody I know works their heart out, and does a very good job. And we're not respected and we don't get the resources that we need. And we're, on a sort of on a different level, we're just told, get those numbers up. We call them success rates, but it's a bunch of bullshit because you can juke the stats. I mean, I can make a really simple, evaluation so that all my students, succeed, but they're not really succeeding because they're not demonstrating to me that they know the material. But yeah, I mean, it's difficult, and people burn out and people leave all the time. And it's really, it's hard, but
we need an overhaul for sure.
For sure.
Like, cause at least I'll just speak to what I know, North Carolina Americans, or the, North Carolina school system. The only thing that North Carolina government should thank, or should be, the only thing keeping it together are those teachers who, despite it all, are like, well, I'm going to do this, but it's certainly not the government that is making this happen. It is only on the kindness, really. I think, because what I hear is like, I mean, I even just fucking hate working on the weekend. But teachers, it's like, it's not like an 8-hour job, 8-hour day job. No. Like,
if if you treat it like that, there's no way that you can be a good teacher. I mean, yeah, but it's, sort of a losing but it's not. I mean, I could get really depressed about the fact that I don't have any support, or I could be very grateful for the fact that people leave me alone because I do my job, and students sign up for my classes. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, so people leave me alone.
That's nice.
So that is really nice. So I pretty much get to do whatever I want, but not everybody's in that position.
Yeah. Would you watch it again?
I would, yeah. I'd like to watch it with you.
Let's watch it.
Okay.
Do you have a favorite scene and or death?
I think that scene where, with the girl on the TV just sort of explaining what's going on is so weird, and it's so uncomfortable because she's so cheerful, but I really like that too, and I like the whole thing with Kitano, killing Nobu, like flat out murdering him. But that kind of makes sense. I mean, I think that's the kind of thing you might see in the military. Some like, we're not fucking around, guys. Like, this is what's going to happen to you if you don't play along. I also liked it though that almost immediately that one girl was like, "I'm not doing it." And she took her own life.
I loved that.
Yeah, me too.
Like, I was kind of like, and similarly with what we'll see in the Bellco experiment, like, I think I definitely adhere to the belief of like, I'm not killing anybody. Like, you can't, just because you say that's what I have to do, like, I'm not doing it, cause you can't make me. And, I think it's certainly another thing if somebody's like threatening your life, like, I don't really, want to go into all the nitty gritties of like, well, when is it okay to fight back? But it's like, if you're telling me go kill someone, it's like, no.
Yeah.
I would say I really did like that ending scene with Kitano just asking what is an adult supposed to do in this situation, because I think that myself, even now, as a 25-year-old, if I talk to a young person, is sometimes I think like, man, what is the best thing to say right now so that I put you on the path to success? It's like, it is something that I feel like you feel or I at least feel a responsibility for if I ever talk to a young person, where I know I can't like save their life, but I'm just thinking like, how do I not fuck it up though? Mm-hmm. So I felt like that was really poignant. And then favorite death, Man, I do like that scene where all the girls just go crazy in the lighthouse, because it just was like, you can just see it happening, of just that kind of desperation and anxiety and stuff, and how it just leads to. And that's why, like, yeah, don't bring machine guns into this. Like, let's not don't give a scared person a machine gun. Well, we've talked about it. You have a lot of great production and trivia here. Do you want to go through it? But I also don't want to, like, since we've been talking for like an hour, take up too much time.
I thought the one about Shaun of the Dead was kind of interesting, and the one right after that. Well, actually, all this trivia I thought was interesting.
You want to go through it?
There's not that much, yeah.
Yeah, you go. How about you go through it?
Oh, okay.
Is that okay?
Oh, sure. So, reference to Battle Royale appears in Shaun of the Dead when Shaun and Ed are being attacked by a zombie in their flat. A stylized poster from Battle Royale is on their wall. Another reference that occurs later on is when Shaun uses his tie to secure a wound he received when he got a dart in his head. The wrap looking very much like the head wrap for Kawada in the film.
Oh.
At one point in the film, a few seconds of Peg wearing the tie, cigarette in mouth, checking a switch in semi-darkness, almost exactly parallel a few from Battle Royale.
That's cool.
So that makes me want to go back and watch that.
Yeah.
None of the cast had any stunt doubles, not even the lead, Tatsuya Fujiwara.
They roll around a lot in this movie.
They do.
A lot.
And there was another piece of trivia, I don't know if it made it, but they trained for 6 months before they shot the film. Yeah.
I mean, I feel like this movie, like, whenever there's a movie with so many people and locations, obviously that must be the hardest thing ever to wrangle. Like, it just must be a huge production, and I think that they do a great job of it.
Yeah. The movie is banned in South Korea.
Wow.
Oh, sorry, in South Korea TV.
Oh.
Due to
because I was about to say, I was like, South Korea, you want to talk about I saw the devil?
South Korea, like, went buck wild when like, the censorship laws were, lifted. I mean, when I was there with you when you were a baby, I saw censorship, like, up front. I mean, you'd rent a Western movie and scenes would be cut out of it.
Do you remember when we got that issue, or not issue, the copy of Josie and the Pussycats that was weirdly censored from Walmart? And like, the woman goes, instead of saying, "You suck," she goes, "You stink." Okay. Yeah,
I think Walmart does that a lot. You probably knew this already, Mac, but actress Chiaki Kuriyama Takako Chigusa was cast as Gogo Yubari in Kill Bill Volume 1 by Quentin Tarantino, since he is a huge fan of this film.
I did not know that.
So that is Battle Royale. The Bellco Experiment is an American film directed by Greg McLean, who also directed Mac, Wolf Creek.
Oh!
It was written by James Gunn, stars John Gallagher Jr., Tony Goldwyn, Adria Arjona, John C. McGinley, Melanie Diaz, Josh Brenner, and Michael Rooker, as well as one of my favorites, Brent Sexton. But
who's he?
He is the head of HR who ends up throwing the Molotov cocktails, but the big fluffy guy.
Yeah, I do like him.
He was in The Killing, and I think Justified, but I always like it when he shows up. It was released on March 17th, 2017, so almost 5 years ago, I guess. It has a running time of 89 minutes, which is smack in the max zone.
Smack in the max.
Yeah.
I love that.
Didn't do great. I mean, it had a budget of $5 million. It made $11.1 million. So,
okay.
I mean, I'd be happy with that, but
still more money than I'll ever have.
So we start off, we're in Colombia, but there are a lot of Americans working for this company, the Bellco company.
Wait, hold on. Give me one. Okay. Continue.
On this one day, though, there's a bunch of heavily armed guards and they're checking underneath the cars for explosives, I guess. And
would this not be your key
Yeah.
cue to take a sick day?
yeah, I mean, it's
I think I would be like, thanks, no thanks, I gotta go.
Wait, Tony. Well, I don't know what it's like on a regular day. I mean, the thing is that these are different armed guards. I'm not sure that,
Yeah, because they ask for the COO's thing, and he's like, "Are you kidding me?"
But then we get this montage of all the office workers, cheerfully greeting each other, and we meet all these people. We meet Danny, who's our stand-in. It's her first day on the job, but we learned that she was outfitted with the quote tracking device in her brain. Now that would be
I wish that they would have given a little bit more context as to what this job assignment was. I get that was kind of the point, is that they were like, what even is this job? But it's like, you could have me believe it if it was something like some kind of a contract. Maybe I was thinking if this was a contracted position, you work here for 2 years, you have to live here, but then you make a shit ton of money. I could see, because I think people do that now. At one point, Dad said that he had an offer, but he'd have to live in China for 2 years. But then, the amount of money they offered him was exorbitant.
right.
But then it's live in China for 2 years. So I could see a whole bunch of people doing that. But even it was just kind of weird to me, because they sent the locals home.
Right.
But then they still had people who were cleaning staff, and it's why wouldn't you hire just local cleaning staff? I don't know. It was weird to me that they had American
that's a
citizens,
really good point.
right?
Oh my gosh.
Why would anybody? How much money could they be paying them? And who's going to be moving to Colombia and be like, oh yeah, I think I'll just work here as a cleaner?
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah. I hadn't even thought about that. But the explanation that Brent Sexton does give is that we are talking about Colombia, Americans who get kidnapped. And so that's why they're outfitted with these tracking devices. But still,
if only they had called the place somewhat similar to Amazon. I believe Amazon would do something like this. If you told me Amazon workers had to get an implant, I'd be like, probably.
And I have heard of, and I don't know if this is actually happening or this is just a proposal, but the implant would be in your hand. So you could scan your hand.
Get the fuck out of my body.
Yeah. Michael Rooker has this really sweet relationship with his guy. I don't know what they are, handymen?
Yeah, they're wearing just orange jumpsuits and they got wrenches.
Yeah. And then Owen, I don't know who Owen Yeoman, he's he ends up with Tony Goldwyn and John C. McGinley. He's the third guy.
He's the biggest guy, right?
Yeah.
He's kind of the guy who's get over, he screams a lot.
He's a real sweetie. I've seen him in a bunch of stuff too. Yeah, so things just get real weird real fast. The glass windows get shuttered up with these armored metal. And then we get the voice over, which explains that in the next half hour or 2 hours.
2 hours, I think.
In the next 2 hours, there are currently 80 people in the building. In the next 2 hours, 2 of them have to be dead. And no one really takes this very seriously. They're like, what is happening? But then sort of like Battle Royale, their brains start exploding. And at first we don't know that that's what's happening. We think maybe there's a sniper or something. But when you examine the wound, you find that the brains exploded out.
Already, I can't just help but think about what I would do in a situation like this. Coming from a company where, no, we weren't ever all on staff, but there's, again, 130 people at my company I would be so extremely scared of whoever would walk up to the dead body first. And so I was thinking about that, all of the little, little ideas you would get in your head. Cause the COO is the one who goes up to the dead guy and with a pen is looking. And if I saw that, I just would be not trusting that guy, and I think I would also just find the coldest, quietest place that And I used to work in the basement, so I would have been very good at hiding this place or finding this place, but I would just hide.
We do have a character who does that. And I feel like I would do that too.
And she's amazing because kind of like without telling anybody, she just kind of leaves.
Yeah.
Like as soon as it goes off, she's just like, okay, finds a place to hide.
Well, Mike, our main fella, he wants to remove the brain death marble from the back of his head, and he takes an X-Acto and goes into the bathroom to do that. But now we learn that there are cameras everywhere because the voice says, Mike, what's your face? Stop doing that. If you don't put down the knife, we will detonate.
They give him so long.
They do.
Like, I noticed this too whenever the banner scene is like, this guy's got plot armor.
Plot armor. I like that term. That's great. After this, we get the next phase of the experiment, which is they must kill 30 people in the next 2 hours or Bellco will kill 60. So Norris, Tony Goldwyn, he's the COO, and he has kids. And this might be my favorite part. Because this is sort of like the debate, like, what are we going to do? What's the best way to handle this? And so Goldwyn's like, well, I'm 50. I got kids. So obviously I should live. But
yeah. I love that because the thing about anybody starting this topic is, well, you aren't volunteering though. And that's the thing that I always think is if anybody starts to be like, well, who are we going to kill? And it's like, so obviously not you is what you're saying. Right. Is who besides me are we going to kill? Like, and that would piss me the fuck off.
Yeah. Well, this sort of like sent me on a little bit of a rabbit hole. And I saw the circle, it's just called Circle. And there is the same kind of discussion. Like, who should we kill? And
which is such a...
Probably the old people.
So, it's gut-wrenching.
Yeah.
Where it goes. It just, cause, it makes you feel sick. Like, at least it makes me feel sick. The idea of quantifying who deserves to live or not, when we have our main character whose idea is mine, which is just, it's all sacred. So like, nobody has the right to say. So I do really like that in this movie, at least the main character was not the one being like, well, who are we going to kill? Like, because he, our Mike, our main guy, like, has it right where instantly he's just like, you think anybody's gonna be able to leave and tell anything about this? You all have bombs in your heads. Do you think anybody's gonna be able to go and just be like, well, I just won't tell anybody for the rest of my life? I would think in that moment, we're all dying. And
yeah, for sure.
If it were me, I would just be like, let's all just like take these last moments because we're all gonna die.
Yeah.
And at least it's gonna be relatively painless,
Be quick.
Yeah.
I can't remember who it is, but somebody has the idea that they should try to signal cars passing by with a huge banner. And some people jump on that idea while other people take a blowtorch to the armory and get out all these like guns and stuff.
Also, why is there an armory in this office? Why would that ever be a thing normally?
Yeah, I don't know. It never has been in anywhere I've ever worked, but
never worked at a place with an armory.
I didn't question these things when I was watching it. I was just like,
okay,
sure. The armory, of course. But the banner idea fails. The guys with the machine guns, like, shoot at them and say, knock it off, you guys. Like, this is not going to work. They start separating people. If you're over 60, you have to line up on the wall, and people are executed. But after the time runs out, they've only killed 29 people. Because
Karen, is that her name? The new girl. She is, hiding in the basement. She comes up, she sees what's going on, is like, what? Goes back downstairs and turns off all the lights because Mike is going to be one of the ones killed. But then everybody goes into a tizzy.
Yeah. So Bellco just kills, 31 more people. And it's just like, this is really gross. I mean, it's just like all these people dying. I really hate this part.
Oh, really? It was like my favorite part.
Oh my God.
Well, because the way that because it's not instant, but then the way that they show you is that they have like this switchboard with all the names and a flick. So they're just randomly flicking switches. So it makes sense then why it's like one after the other, the other. And like that to me made so much more sense. And so then you'd had some scenes where like, you know, the people underneath the tables, like suddenly just like the table would rock up, you know, cause it kind of reminded me of Spontaneous too.
Yeah.
Like, just like, oh God, how is it going to happen?
Yeah. And some people are like, oh, phew, that's over. And then they explode. And then we have our stoner guy who is Sean Gunn, James's brother.
I love this guy.
Yeah. He's a stoner and he has these theories that like everyone's acting weird because they put something in the water. So he's going around like dumping out all the water, but he is in this room where like all these people are dying and he's having just a really hard time coping with all of this. But he also has been collecting all the unexploded marbles
from people murdered who were not killed by Belko.
So Norris, Tony Goldwyn, is on a killing spree, right? So
because now whoever has the most kills,
yes, will be allowed to live. So eventually only Leandra, Mike, and Norris are alive, but Leandra has been hit by a bullet and she dies. And Mike attacks Norris and bashes his head in, and that's the picture on the poster.
What a scene. It's like in the background of course they've got like a PowerPoint playing of like Bellco Industries is blah 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 blah, you know, and so I guess it's the fantasy of people everywhere to smash the COO's face in. Not mine.
There were a couple of interesting things. Brent Sexton, I don't know, it was like focused on him, but he, at the very beginning, he's like, I think he's kind of questioning the COO because he's like, look, I know you have a background in the military and not everybody does. So that's automatically like not fair. But also he just ends up like throwing these Molotov cocktails at one point. I'm just like, go Brent.
Oh, he's like sets the poor like cleaning lady on fire.
Yeah, he does.
I mean, again, I would rather, if I had to go, I think I'd rather be killed by the bullet by the explosion in my head than hacked to pieces by John C. McGinley, who goes utterly insane. I mean, I do think John C. McGinley's supposed to be like that guy we all know, which John C. McGinley, I do love his like utter, the way he just throws himself into always being the asshole. Like he's just cool with it. And he is like, he's too convincing. And the way he thinks that he's got this cute flirty relationship with Leandra.
That's gross.
But I can see this in a way, like, cause there's this moment where he's staring at her in the beginning and she types back to him like, stop staring. And he's like, lol, sorry, you know? And he just doesn't get it.
Yeah. When you see an actor like constantly do the same kind of role where they're like always the asshole or whatever, do you think they actually like are an asshole?
I don't know. Like, cause John C. McGinley, I don't want to, cause what if he is the nicest guy ever? And, you know, like Steve Buscemi, poor Steve Buscemi. I think I saw an interview where he was like, I didn't know I was ugly until everybody told me I was, you know, and, but but I do think Steve Buscemi's good at playing like lovable little creep. But it's like John C. McGinley's not even playing that. He's playing guy we're all supposed to dislike. So I don't know. Either this is him or poor John C. McGinley.
I mean, I think he has. I do think people get typecast, so I don't think that, you know, necessarily if you always play assholes, you are an asshole. And I feel like you have to have a little bit of knowledge of
to know how to play an asshole.
Yeah. And I don't think he's like just like, you know, completely unlikable. Obviously he's got insecurities and he wants love and, you know, there's like, he's not just like one dimensional, but, he does seem to play the same sort of guy, you know, over and over again very well. So anyway, after Norris is killed, Mike is taken into the hangar and he meets the voice who explains the experiment.
Horrible makeup on this guy.
Yeah.
I could not take this, like, shredded melted cheese on his face. It looked like homemade nachos.
WoHos, look it up if you haven't seen it. That's a great description. Well, Mike explains that while he was being taken into custody, he put all the unexploded, bombs on all the people, including the voice. So they're on the soldiers, they're on the voice man. And so Mike starts hitting all the switches on the control thing. And the voice is pleading for his life. And he says, but you respect human life. Like, you can't kill me. And Mike just, like, shoots the fuck out of him, empties the gun.
Because the voice is like, this is all part of an experiment, you know? So, rate on a scale of 1 to 5, like, how are you feeling right now? It's so ridiculous.
But, Mike, steps outside of the hangar and he's exhausted. He's been through this whole ordeal. But then the shot pulls back and we see that there have been games going on all over the world. And we hear a voice say that now it's time for stage 2.
There was one detail which probably nobody else will ever, it doesn't matter, but it bothered me. Instead of simply filming enough scenes to where they had screens to match every single point, they repeated some. I noticed it because when they were zooming out, they repeated so many of them. And I just remember thinking, like, just don't make it pull out that far then. Just like, but don't have repeats, because why would there be a repeat on the screen? I'm taken out.
Oh.
Also, this movie, I think, like, took way too much liberty with the green screens at times, because like there were so many times where it's like, what is this fake ass shot? Like, can we, and as if we could just contrast with Battle Royale, the scene where Nobu and Shuya are in the foster home, that looks like the most lived in room I've ever seen. Like, there's books all over the place. Like, it looks like humans live there. And I just really wish more movies would stop cutting corners and just get a set that looks like people work there, at least. Why the green screen? Come on.
The only time it really bothered me is when McGinley, like, turns that woman's head around.
Oh my god. No, that was the other guy.
Oh,
and that scene was so disgusting. Out of nowhere, we have to have this woman go up to him and start undressing and be like, oh, you can, and she like has like an accent too, which just really turned me. She was just like, you can touch me if you'd like, and he's like, goes up and he goes, can't waste a bullet, and turns her head around. Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Awesome.
What did Letterboxd have to say about it? This is my new feature. I'm so excited.
I love it.
Well, Saskia Jackson gave it 3.5 and says maybe the real Bellco experiment was capitalism.
Dun, dun, dun.
This is like when you say, we were the monsters all along.
Humans are the real monsters.
Reed Hardison gave it 2.5. The Bellco experiment is a dumb movie that mildly satisfies the sicko in me.
That's fair.
Honest. Justin B gave it 2.5. The Bellco experiment is gory, cheesy fun that is also unintelligent and derivative.
Well, all right.
Good job, Justin. Joshua Kazemi gave it 3.5. While it isn't very sophisticated in terms of character or plot, the Bellco experiment is engaging and well acted.
I'll give it that.
I mean, that's true.
It is engaging.
And there aren't bad performances. They all do their jobs. Super Subu gave it 3 and said, how to survive a Bellco experiment. Don't work at a company where they put something in your head. Yeah. Laugh crying emoji.
Number 1. Don't do that.
I think you'd like this one. Ali says, Ali gave it 3 stars and says the person behind the experiment was Jeff Bezos.
Just is true.
It's not great. It's not good. I mean, it could have been a lot better.
Watching it over again, I really found myself not liking it, actually. Like, I really found myself being like, I don't think I like this. And I really liked it the first time, but it kind of upset me the second time.
Really? Why did it upset you?
it's like, I just was like, this is fucked up. And I don't know. I think maybe I'm past the age where I want to watch senseless killing. Like, okay, you might say, okay, well, Battle Royale was, but I feel like it was done differently. I feel like there's a way to do it that just feels like punching a puppy. And then there's ways to do it where it feels like something's being said, at least, that like I agree with. And this one, I don't really know what was said.
Right. Like, what if, it's basically like, what if you went to work and this fucked up thing happened and everyone's like, I guess, true nature was revealed, but also...
Yeah. But what if everything was bad?
Like, really bad. Like, I mean, you think it's bad, but it's like 10 times worse than you think.
And it's like, I mean, just that scene of them separating out everyone, like, I think took a year off my life just because there's
Hi, Alan. Hey, Betty. Alan, did you see the Bellco Experiment?
Oh, he can't hear us.
He's gone.
He's gone. He has not seen it, and I don't think we'll ever see it.
All right, well, let's rate it, and then talk about other things. I thought we could rate it. Okay, I think it is like a tape dispenser, but I said we should rate it in terms of staplers.
3.
Yeah, 3. 2.5 for 3. I'll give it 3. I mean,
it was engaging.
It is. I mean, it's an hour and a half. I mean, it's just like, it's garbage, but what have we learned? I mean, I think that person said it really well. Like, don't get implants put into your brain.
Don't trust your job. Don't trust the government.
I mean, and I do think on some level things are probably a lot worse than the average person knows, but I mean, I don't want to know, how I'm being manipulated by like advertising and corporations and, whatever else, manipulates me without my knowledge. I'd prefer not to know.
Yeah, I agree.
Would we watch it again?
Maybe. I feel like I've gotten my viewings, 2 times might be enough.
Yeah, me too. I thought 2 times. I just put favorite scene or kill. I liked when Michael Rooker died.
Me too. I do think that scene I think the effects are actually really great. His big bald head. And I like the way that it happens because it feels very real. And, I love him. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I think that's the death that felt the most like, oh no, to me.
Yeah. Aside from Danny, who's like been a badass pretty much for the whole thing and the whole thing with the elevator and everything. And then she rides down to the bottom and just gets shot in the head.
That one. Oh, you're like, girl, don't open up the elevator.
All right. Well, the plot draws heavily from Battle Royale. The trailers feature Giuseppe Verdi's Requiem, which was also used in Battle Royale. So James Gunn was going to direct this, but he was getting divorced. So from Jenna Fisher.
Oh.
And he didn't want to, be around all this like senseless violence. So he just pulled out. Greg McLean, as I said, is from Wolf Creek. I thought that was interesting. So, yeah, it's not, I don't know.
It's all right.
James Gunn wrote the first draft of the script in 2 weeks, and he says he got the story from a dream he had.
That reminds me, I obviously can't give too many details because it's like not my situation to talk about, but somebody at my old job got fired because she said she had a dream where she killed multiple people at the job.
She got fired for that?
Well, she kind of gave a lot of details.
Oh.
Like she said it was like execution style. It was these specific people. And then at one point, apparently she also was like, I don't know if this part really happened. This sounds too movie, but she says that like, she then said like, maybe I'll make that dream come true.
Oh no.
Something.
Okay.
There's no way she said that, but she was fired for that specifically. So don't ever reveal that you had a dream where a bunch of people died.
I mean, I wouldn't. That seems weird.
Who would? When we all heard about it, we were like, yeah, you don't do that. I had this weird dream where I killed you execution style. I still have a job, right?
Like a speed dial HR. In the beginning of the movie, Mike buys a corncob doll from a street merchant that is said to bring good luck, and the toy gets passed around over the course of the movie, and it ultimately ends back up with Mike. Okay, so I made a list. Remember, we used to do this a lot. What has Max seen? So I got a list from Creepy Catalog, Dunya Games, and Best Similar about Battle Royale-style movies, and I just wanted to know what you have seen or what you might recommend. So, Breathing Room?
No.
House of Nine?
No.
The Human Race?
No.
Circle?
No.
You said you started it, but you didn't.
Yeah, I didn't finish it, but I will finish it now.
Triggered?
No.
Okay, I started this one, and it's oh my gosh, they wake up with like suicide vests on, you know, they just wake up with like explosive vests on in the woods, and it's just like, okay, guys, like get a new idea. But people were just like screaming a lot, and I was like, I'm not hanging out with these folks. Kill Theory?
No.
Mean Guns?
No.
The Condemned?
No.
The 10th Victim?
No.
Well, that's from 65. How about Series 7, The Contenders?
No.
Okay, we need to watch this because Merritt Weaver is in it, and so is Brooke Smith. Brooke Smith,
Ooh.
You know who she is?
No.
She is from Silence of the Lambs.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. So, and Merritt Weaver's just been in a ton of stuff, but Series 7 is great. I think it's Canadian, and the whole thing is like everybody in the country.
Oh God.
Is like in this weird lottery. And if your number is called, you have to go on this like killing contest.
Damn.
Yeah.
That sounds cool.
Yeah, it's pretty good. The Tournament.
No.
The Hunger Games, Catching Fire.
I don't know if I saw Catching Fire, but I did read the book.
Okay.
I read the whole series.
The Running Man?
No.
Okay, I've seen that a bunch. That's from 87 with Schwarzenegger and Yaphet Kotto and As the Gods Will.
No, but I really want to see it.
I watched it yesterday.
So good. Was it good?
Okay. I do need some help with that one, but
I've heard that one is very Japanese.
Yeah.
Like a lot of it is very Japanese culture based.
Yeah. But the first scene, I mean, even if you just watch the first scene, which is like sort of like the Squid Game with the doll turning around.
Because it's like I think they're called like Dadamuka dolls or something. Yeah.
That is amazing. I don't know if it's
I think that's the only scene I've seen, which made me want to watch the movie.
With the red marbles and everything?
Oh, maybe not.
Oh, okay.
I've seen a scene where somebody dies with that Dadamuka thing.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, just that very first scene, it makes the whole thing worth it. But yeah, I don't get it, but I want to get it. But someone will have to explain it to me, or I'll have to find an essay or something. The Maze Runner.
No.
Cube.
Yes.
Okay.
And Cube 2 Hypercube.
Hypercubaloo.
Oh, yeah. The Cube 2 Electrocubaloo.
Well, I didn't realize this because I didn't know who he was, I guess, at the time. But Julian Richings is in the Cube. Julian Richings of Anything for Jackson fame.
Oh!
Does he play the Birdman? Maybe.
I don't remember.
I need to see that again. I did see it probably like at the time. And Surviving the Game.
No. So I guess, okay, but let me tell you the ones that were on my list.
Okay.
Which I guess they're not all necessarily Battle Royale, but they fit into this movies where a bunch of people need to make decisions that have fatal consequences. The Platform.
Yes.
Great. Would You Rather? Brittany Snow does an okay job. Exam. That one's like a subpar thing you can find on Amazon Prime. 9 Dead. I have not seen this, but I have a friend who likes horror movies who told me this was a great movie. Okay, I have seen The Killing Room, actually. I just don't remember it because it was mediocre. And all these other ones. Elevator, I've seen. Coherence.
Oh yeah, Coherence.
That's a great movie. Saw.
Oh yeah, I don't know why Saw wasn't on the list.
I guess but like Battle Royale, I think is a very specific idea. But I think I would like to encompass all of those in there of just like these strangers who should not be put in this situation, but they are, and they have fatal consequences.
Yeah, I mean, if you get to like similar, there's not really much of a point, but like Cube is kind of like that. But, and Circle is definitely like that. Okay. We did it. Thank you for joining us for this episode and for all your support. It means the world of horror to us truly. Next time, it's Max. Nope. Next time, it's Mom's pick of genre, and Mom has chosen psychological horror. We will be looking at Thelma from Norway and Carrie, the original, from the US. We also want to let you know to look out for some minis that I'm going to be dropping into your feed. These will be 20 to 40 minute eps on classic before the year 2000 international horror movies. Upcoming minis include The Beyond from Italy, Antasis from Spain, Santa Sangre from Chile, and Event Horizon from the UK. Remember, we love you, and don't go into the basement.